A lot of PR agencies who, as Jessica says, were traditionally media relations and reputation management have made the shift into broader comms, and it's been an important move for us because also our clients want it.
This trend has continued through with the cost of living crisis. Christian charities have really stepped into the gap in supporting vulnerable people and communities, both in the UK and overseas. And in turn, they've recognised that they need to really step up their comms to be able to reach their audiences.
I mean, when we founded it, we had no idea this was where we were heading, to be honest.
Okay, Gareth and Jessica, so we're just going to have a little check-in and touch base on how things are going within the agency, and also touch on a bit of the vision and how we're seeing that play out as well. And my first question was going to be around the direction that our agency is moving at the moment. Of course, we are at the moment still the only Christian and PR agency that is operating globally, not just in the UK, but across to Australia and into the United States as well. Gareth, was that always the vision and the plan for you when you founded the agency back in 2010?
No, big fat no. I mean, when we founded it, we had no idea this was where we were heading, to be honest. I think the vision has evolved as we've seen what the need is, really, and also seen the potential of effective communications. You know, I think what drove us at the start was that we felt like the narrative around faith and Christianity specifically was a very negative and narrow narrative, both actually in traditional media but also in social media, that a lot of stereotypes were being played out and a lot of stories that we had heard that were really positive and good and meaningful and purposeful were going under the radar. And so that was really what we started with, whereas, you know, we really had a vision for our local context at that point, but it's really grown since then.
And what would you say, Jessica, in terms of when the general growth started to happen? When did you really see that take off in agency life?
Yeah, I think during the pandemic and post-pandemic, and it's continued through, this trend has continued through with the cost of living crisis. Christian charities have really stepped into the gap in supporting vulnerable people and communities, both in the UK and overseas. And in turn, they've recognised that they need to really step up their comms to be able to reach their audiences. So we've been able to support them, extend our services to be able to meet that need, to be able to offer more integrated comms offerings rather than just the traditional media relations and reputation management. And that's where we started to really see growth, is by offering the integrated comms offerings to them, and also in turn diversifying, having a quite a diverse team in terms of experience, being intentional with having a team of individuals who have both lots of experience in the Christian sector, but have also had experience in other sectors as well and other disciplines within the comms mix too. And we've then in turn seen growth outside of the UK internationally too. So it's really grown in leaps and bounds really in those different areas.
And it feels like for a long time now we've been operating far beyond just a PR agency, and we've seen that play out a lot in the last few months and years. And so you've made a strategic decision, haven't you, that we're actually going to reposition ourselves as an agency, moving into being a comms agency. So do you want to just explain a little bit about the thought process behind that and what that's practically going to mean for the leadership shape and us and our work moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things to highlight is that, so when I was in university, which, you know, was still in black and
Back
white.
in the day.
Yeah, I mean, like in the 1800s, I was in university. They taught at that point that you needed 7 impressions in order for someone to go from a no knowledge of your organization or campaign to an engagement decision. Because of the number of messages that are out there now and the number of messages that bombard us each day, that number's gone up to 12. And so what that requires is an integrated comms approach. And so you can have an amazing media relations campaign, you can have an amazing social campaign, but if they're not talking to each other and they're not aligned in terms of objectives and tone of voice and messaging and insights, then they're not going to be as effective as they could be. And so we've recognized that. I mean, to be honest, this is a sector-wide shift. You know, a lot of PR agencies who, as Jessica says, were traditionally media relations and reputation management, have made the shift into broader comms, and it's been an important move for us because also our clients want it. You know, they've been saying to us, we don't want to have multiple relationships and multiple different agencies. We want one relationship with an agency who really gets us, who have done the back end work on insights and key messaging and strategy, so that can then be outworked in practical tactics. And so that's why we made the move, and we've been doing it over the last few years. This hasn't been a kind of one day we were and the next day one day we weren't and the next day we were. It's been a gradual shift, and we will continue to shift. You know, I think we have to keep our antennae out for where are we going next. You know, AI is a big thing, and we've done a podcast on that with the Comscast. But for us, what does that mean for our service offering? And so we're going to continue to shift. But yeah, as you say, it has meant there's been a change in terms of how we're structured. We need to be structured in order to deliver those services. And as part of that, Jessica is now becoming managing director. So I was managing director. Jessica's becoming managing director. I'm moving into a CEO role. And it's going to give us a far more robust structure as a team to be able to service our clients really well. Our clients are kind of front and center of how we operate and how we structure ourselves. And because of Jessica's experience, she's got far more experience than I do in this space. And she knows how these things operate. So she's going to bring that experience to Jersey Road and be able to make us work even more effectively than we have been.
Have you got anything to add there, Jessica, just on the logistics?
I think, a key part of my role is this is a time where we need to ensure that there's really strong interdependence between the different service offerings. Things can become quite unwieldy within organisations if you've got lots of different activities happening in different areas and there isn't some glue to stick it all together. So it's a good time for me to be bringing the experience that I've got working in much larger agencies and also across different geographical territories to be able to bring that now to the fore at Jersey Road and feed that through and work with the team to expand that knowledge out as well. And for Gareth to be getting out there in his role as CEO, to be opening doors and having conversations in areas that he's maybe not been able to have time to up until this point, as we're working more internationally as well. So, yeah.
So in summary then, just based on everything you both have said so far, do you see a shift in the public perceptions of Christianity? And is that part of this?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's lots of research that points to the fact that people are increasingly open to spirituality. And we see that in the public space in terms of the openness and willingness of Christian leaders and religious leaders, faith leaders across the board, actually, to speak out on broader issues, to have confidence in speaking out to the media and otherwise. So I think there's that willingness within Christian leadership, but also we see it in the media. Celebrities are much more open if they have a faith of some kind or spirituality and sharing that, and that really helps. I think your man on the street feel this is, I feel okay about this, actually. I'm going to be open about this. So I think, we are seeing that, and Christian organisations are responding to that in how they communicate, and they're recognising that they need to communicate in different ways with their audience and to reach their audience as well.
So fair to say we've seen the opportunity in this cultural moment and we're acting accordingly. In what way, Gareth, can clients, faith organisations, can they also really hone in on this and the opportunities that they have, really maximise those? What would you say?
Well, I think, first of all, when you're in a cultural moment and you're trying to work out how do I make the most of this cultural moment, I think, first of all, you have to understand what it is. And so you have to research it, you have to read about it, you have to listen to podcasts and watch documentaries and read books. So I think kind of upskilling ourselves and having our ear to the ground on what's happening, and also listening outside of our echo chambers. I think the social media gives us so many great opportunities, but it also creates echo chambers, and I think we often don't hear voices outside of those echo chambers. So I think listening outside of those echo chambers and really being deliberate about that is the first thing. The second thing I would say is actually then allowing what you hear to affect and impact your strategy and objectives, or maybe more your strategy, because you may have the same goals, but the strategic approach to achieve those goals may need to change depending on what the cultural moment is, and changing your syntax and your language so that it actually makes sense to the people you're talking to. That's a real passion of ours, is that communication is not just what we've always said, but it's what actually makes most sense to the audiences that we're speaking to. One of the areas that we've seen a lot of development in over the last 18 months and 2 years has been insights and our data team. And one of the things they're doing is doing audience profiling, really understanding who is it we're speaking to, then developing key messages with that audience or those audiences in mind, and then testing that messaging to say, is it actually landing? So I think putting it through that rigor in the cultural moment and then assessing and analyzing, is it actually working? Because you can put it out there, you can keep going, but is it actually effective? Is it achieving what you're trying to achieve? And I think that's maybe one piece that is missing sometimes, is that post-campaign or mid-campaign analysis. And so I think that's something that we're trying to encourage our clients to do, is be more data-driven, be more savvy, be more open to what's going on outside of their echo chambers, and more aligned with their strategic objectives.
So final word to you both then. Sounds like really exciting times at Jersey Road, a great moment for us as an agency. What's next in terms of the vision, what you see happening in the next 12 months? What can people look forward to?
I think we want to work with Christian organisations who want to create more impact, whether that's in the UK, in Australia, or those that have an international mission. And we want to keep, as we've said, really our ear to the ground and our eyes open in terms of what the opportunities are and what the need is, and to serve our clients in a way that is most useful to them to achieve their mission, so they can concentrate on delivering their mission and we can help get the word out there for them.
And whilst all of the organizations we work with have a faith basis, but not all of them are necessarily explicit about it. They're not looking to necessarily present themselves as a Christian organization. It's just more of a values basis. But one of the things that we're really looking to do with both those who are explicit and not explicit about their Christian basis is reframe public perceptions of what people see faith as. Because as we said earlier, what we were founded on was this. It was a negative, narrow narrative. And so how do we go about that? The things that we often talk about are there's 5 things that we think we can play a part in. One is profiling good news stories of what faith-based organizations are doing. The second is being thought leaders in issues that actually matter to society, and they're credible voices in those spaces. The third is that Christian organizations and churches should be world-class at saying sorry when we've messed up. So when there has been mistakes made, when there's been abuses of power, we shouldn't be about protecting the brand. We should be about saying sorry, owning what we've done, and building the brand maybe, but not protecting it, not being defensive. The fourth is that there is also going to be malicious attack, and so making sure that they're robust and they've got processes around that mean they're not just a doormat. And then the final thing is that it's all underpinned by that data, so that there's an accurate picture presented of the audience and of the church and of Christianity. So they're the 5 areas that we feel like we can make a difference and we can add some value, and we hope that will happen in the UK and Australia, but then also internationally as well in the next few years.
Great. Thank you both, and all the best with your new roles.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.